Yeah. I would like all of you to rise and join us. If you're wearing a hat, please remove it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Babcock,
Here.
Petty, here, Black,
Here.
Malaco,
Here.
Lima,
Here.
Wright,
Here.
Gustafson.
Here. Public comment. If there is anyone wishing to address the board, please rise, state your name for the clerk, and you may speak from either your seat or up here at the podium, whichever you are most comfortable with. Remember, public comment is limited, and we want to hear from all of you. However, if things start to become repetitive, let's have one person summarize. Beginning with you, sir. You are?
Nick Graham. And my fiance and I are here to support the Founders Park. And not only the Founders Park, but the construction of the music pavilion. Our area honestly doesn't have a lot of economic opportunities, and I think a multi-purpose venue is a good fit. I don't think you're honestly going to be able to please everybody with it. But I think it's a good fit for us, and expanding upon it and including more options that you can use that venue for, I think is also a good idea. My fiance and I also are residents of Prairie Rose. I have to say that I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but the management of Prairie Rose has been against the venue. Not only the pavilion, but the venue. And ever since its construction, they've been spending a lot of their time and energy using all the resources they have to try and rile up their fellow resident. If there is a monthly newsletter, they put it in it. If they have flyers, they note it in the flyers. They have a daily text service that we get that give us like daily updates, note it in that. They note the progress of the venue and pavilion, and they note the zoning meetings. And they want us to come out and voice our concerns. And given that it's been open now for almost half a year, I don't think any of those concerns have happened. I don't think that really any of the worries will ever happen. I think that everything that the Founders Park has right now or will have was chosen accordingly, planned accordingly. And I think it's a good fit for our area.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I will. I'm Diane Wallace, and I am a resident off of Francis Lane. And my husband and I have lived in our house for 55 years. So we've been very aware of the advancements that have been made in that area of Roscoe. And we are both very, very happy to have the Founders Day Park. And at a first meeting that we were here with the architects, they addressed all of our questions very positively. And we were given very, very good assurances of what's going to happen at the park. And we just think it's going to be a very good thing for Roscoe, and we are very much for it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. My name is Laura McAfee Ward. I am the president of the Roscoe Township Historical Society. And so I'm also here in support of the pavilion at Founders Park. As a historical society, we have long partnered with the township, and we have had a front row seat to the Founders Park development from day one. And so the focus of the park has always been to share the history of Roscoe, which up until now has been very hidden. And it's very rich. And so we hope to really shed a light on the history of Roscoe. And there's been a lot of planning involved with every aspect of the park to make sure it's diverse and is accessible and utilized by every member of this community. And that includes the pavilion, the cross home, the community center, and the walking paths and the garden. And so my hope is that this board approves the project as presented and previously approved by the zoning board. And then that you use the ordinances of this community, including the noise ordinance, to ensure that all of the events that happen there are community friendly and neighbor friendly.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I'm Carolyn Dryden. I also live on Francis Lane and have been excited in watching the growth that's happening over there in Founders Park. I know there's been talk about the pavilion and where it's located, but I think if it's moved, it's going to be a detriment for children that are there. And trying to keep track of children is like spitting in the ocean sometimes. But everything that they have put towards us has been positive. And I don't expect any loud music. I look forward to seeing children and families gather there, as well as classes going on in the building that was done. I can't wait to see the museum. And I just am really thrilled. I've been in where I live now for 25 years. My husband has been there 35 years. So we've been really updated as to what's going on in our neighborhood. And it's a very family-oriented neighborhood. And I hope that this will keep that way.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes.
Yes, we're David and Hope Collins. We live at 5582 Hazel Close, the Hodges Run subdivision. And we're here to speak against the proposed zoning change from the commercial lots at the entrance to our subdivision to the two family. And we had a very good discussion at the committee of the whole a couple weeks ago, so we won't. We're also here to speak against the zoning change for the one lot that's basically across the street on Main Street. And the change is so that you can allow a car repair facility, as well as the ability to sell used cars there. And we just don't think that while that's a legitimate business, that we don't think that that's the place for it, right in the heart of Roscoe, as well as across the street from the Kinnikinnick School. We appreciate the discussion and the dialogue a couple of weeks ago in the committee of the whole, and we certainly appreciate we voted against both of those changes, and we respectfully request that you vote the same tonight. So we really appreciate it. A lot of our neighbors are here, so for expediency purposes, you know, we all won't get up and speak unless somebody else has anything.
Thank you. Anyone else with something new to add?
My name is Nathan Blevins. I live at 10824 Forge Trail in Chicory Ridge. I'd also like to voice my support for the pavilion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Elizabeth Langwitz, Roscoe Township trustee. Somebody wanted this letter, one of our Roscoe Township Historical Society board members wanted this letter read, and her sister apparently did not able to attend to read it. So I just want to read it for her. That's okay. So this is Doris Hunter Trop, who lives at 5918 Harrison Street in Roscoe. She says, "Dear Roscoe Village trustees, I would like to voice my support for Roscoe Township's plan to install a pavilion in the currently planned location at Founders Park and request that the special use permit be approved. I feel Roscoe is in need of park space that is not regularly shared by team sports. As a longtime resident of the village who lives less than 2 blocks away from Leland Park for my entire residency, I feel the impact of the pavilion in Founders Park will be less of an imposition than the opposition is expecting. In comparison, Leland Park hosts sports events with an open concession stand, as well as family and group events throughout the warm weather months, with the overall impact to my property being minimal. Sound pollution from events at Leland are rarely noticeable within my home and never disturbing, even during Fall Festival. I believe that the included sound mitigation of turning the stage to face away from nearby rental housing will sufficiently reduce the volume of any event so as to not unduly disturb nearby renters. I believe the benefit to the community would outweigh any potential minimal disturbance to the neighbors. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Janet Rock. I live at 12301 Francis Lane. I am want to see Founder's Park continue, and with the pavilion where it is located. I agree with the walking path, also with the sound. The sound will go towards Hananega, so it will not go to either neighborhood. You're also looking at the sound going into the grassy area versus over a pavement. I worked with a lot of music venues over the years, and those that are on pavement or cement or something, the music is much louder. You also did pass a ordinance that said no amplifiers, which also makes it very nice. But I think where it is located with the walking paths and everything, it is very good. So I'm in support of that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Closing public comment then at this time. I'd like to go on to a couple of presentations that are on our agenda. First, Seth Grunwald from Bear Graham is going to share with us some information about Main Street development. Seth?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about the Main Street reconstruction project a little bit here. Scott, when you have a chance, if you open a couple of exhibits, but here tonight on the request of both President Gustafson as well as Scott, just to give an update on where we currently stand. Some of you may or may not know, but the Village of Roscoe a couple of years ago began an effort to work on shovel-ready projects so that when funding becomes available, they have projects ready to go to apply for that funding and advance much needed public infrastructure projects. This project is a reconstruction of Main Street from just north of McDonald to Elevator Road. And it contains reconstructing the roadway in a manner of making it an urban section. So obviously, all of you probably are well aware that this is a rural section roadway that does not have storm sewer. And so as a result, there's likely quite a few drainage concerns there. So what we're working on right now are the plans, and you can see in some of these exhibits how we're trying to improve many of these intersections to improve radii for turning movements for regular passenger vehicles, and then in certain intersections such as Broad and Bridge and Main Street. We're looking to actually widen out some of those radii to accommodate some truck movements that are presenting problems currently for the village. In addition to that, there's sometimes some safety concerns with angled parking in the downtown areas. And so what we're looking to do is kind of adjust some of that to parallel parking, which improves safety. Then also improve the pedestrian accommodations throughout this downtown corridor here, as well as beautification efforts with improved light fixtures, benches, bike racks, things of that nature, and keep a green factor in there as well. For beautification purposes. There also is a pedestrian bridge that we're looking at, and that is tied to safety due to the fact that right now pedestrian crossing is happening on a bridge that has sidewalk immediately adjacent to traffic. So this is going to essentially separate those pedestrian activities completely away from the roadway and be on its own separate bridge. I'm currently in the process of trying to get that permitted with the IDNR as well as IDOT. IDOT's already gone through and approved of the intersection design studies that we've done that they have jurisdiction over. So that's a good effort. And once we have some word back from the IDNR regarding the bridge, we'll be able to push that effort forward as well. Let's see.
That's why you pause for a second. I'll just let people know. I'll sort of scroll through. It's a multi-sheet plan set. And so it starts all the way down at McDonald Road where the mobile station is. And so I'll just keep sort of scrolling through sheets, but I'll sort of land and linger on the downtown section. Probably
Yeah.
throughout.
Yeah, so you can see up here, you know, obviously this is the pedestrian bridge. You can see it from the roadway bridge. And you can see even at some of these intersections, that you can really tell the pedestrian accommodations are much more visible there, making it safer.
Jumping through.
You can see, you know, continuous pathways and then crossing the roadway. And as we continue to make our way north to elevator, and these geometric changes are definitely going to make it what we believe to be a more activated corridor for the village and the residents within. And also I have to give Scott a lot of credit here. I mean, as you all know, he's very talented in the landscape architecture realm of things. So it's been great to work with him and kind of get some of his ideas, especially in this downtown area, to kind of make sure that we're not only, you know, as an engineer, we're sometimes very linear in the way that we look at things. And so he's kind of helping us as well as our other landscape architecture staff that we have and keeping it visual appealing as well. So we're targeting both functional and visual. One of the biggest challenges of this project is utility concerns, obviously. As you drive up and down this corridor, you see large ComEd lines. We've been in contact with ComEd for maybe, it's probably been about 1.5 years now. And we've worked with them on a couple different options, relocation of the poles, and then kind of identifying what it may look like if we were to go underground, significant costs going underground. But we're trying to figure out, you know, what the options are for the village to consider. And then once we have all of the information, we can kind of allow you guys to make a decision and go from there. I guess with that said, you know, that's kind of a general overview of the project as a whole. I guess I did leave out one thing. There will be some minor signal improvements of the elevator. Other than that, the remainder of the intersections throughout the corridor are still set to be stop controlled intersections.
Will this be signalized bridge and main?
Not in the near term, no.
Very good.
So with that said, is there any questions that you guys may have?
When do you anticipate this being finished?
So the bridge has been into IDNR now for at least 6 months. Typically takes them 9 months to a year to get back to us on the hydraulic approvals. Once they have issued their approval, we can kind of wrap up the bridge design. For the most part, a lot of the corridor design itself is already complete, but we really want to send in that entire package inclusive of the pedestrian bridge, tie it out at the same time so they can review and approve it all at once. So I believe as soon, once we hear back on that pedestrian bridge, we're fingers crossed they get back to us sooner than 9 to 12 months, but
You're thinking another 9 months.
I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 6 to 9 months by the time we actually get their approvals.
If you don't mind me chiming in, I'll say that ComEd's a large variable in this too. So we've been working with ComEd for 2 years maybe now, it seems on this. They're a good partner, so I don't want to besmirch them, but there's been starts and stops with that. And in fact, we were fairly far into the process when we find out that they were operating under a different understanding than ours as to what our ask was, and they were initially looking at very, very minor relocations just to get out of the way of our improvements. And we said, no, we want to see what it would look like to either bury or relocate overhead utilities off the roadway to the rear of properties and really have a clear line of sight down the whole corridor, or at least down the corridor through from Bridge to say Williams or so. The project, I think Seth probably mentioned, the project has kind of been contemplated in 3 different sections from McDonald to Bridge, being largely full reconstruction, but rebuilding it largely in that same configuration, but definitely better to our full urban section, improved drainage, that are new, good roads. And they're a washboard to drive on now. You've driven down those, they rattle your teeth. And then again, from Williams or so, north to Elevator, same kind of approach. Reconstruction of the existing roadway, modifications to parking where applicable, and addition of new sidewalk. But the meat of this project is Bridge to Williams. It's Main Street Square down to this intersection. That's where the bulk of the design efforts have gone by Fairgram, and a good chunk of the budget. And that's where we feel it's important to try to get overhead utilities out of the way and to really develop a complete streetscape, really from building facade to building facade on either side of the street. Be beautiful.
I would like to add, since the board has consistently funded this, we're excited about the prospect of developing a true Main Street downtown area that will be an attraction to all of our residents and far more usable. The big question though is always how to pay for it. And so my question is, when do we begin the grant process?
Yeah, so what, as recently there's, it's always ongoing. This is the short answer, right? We're always looking for opportunities that the project would fit into so that we can apply for it. I know that multiple times we've applied for congressional directed spending. I think we were even shortlisted at one point.
We were.
Unfortunately,
We were approved, Seth. We were approved at one point, and the program got cut.
So as those opportunities arise, we are identifying those. We'll make you guys aware of those opportunities to see if it is something you're interested in pushing forward. But the intent right now is that while it's not a project that currently has funding associated with construction, we're looking to make it shovel ready. So that you guys are able to chase those funds as they become available.
Thank you.
Is this just to complete the study? Is the 9 months, or after that is funding for actually doing the road?
This is for the design.
That's it.
Yep, that's correct.
So 9 more months before the designs.
And all permits approvals.
I'd like to say, I think this is wonderful. Will this be available for our public and constituents to see it on the website, or can we have like a vision board or something up where people can look at this?
Absolutely. I think it's been work product for a while. I think this is probably an appropriate stage for public consumption, but this is by no means the finished product yet. This is a great overview of all the proposed hardscape improvements, and it identifies the green space. And it's sort of by color and hatch pattern, identifying where sidewalks will be. But there's even a greater level of detail that's still going through refinement as to specific surfaces, whether some parts of the side will be concrete, others will be stamped, colored to look like pavers, to like the planters included, street furnishings. So I think this is an appropriate jump off point for public consumption, but it's still a living document, and there'll be versions of this.
So clarification, Scott, did you say ComEd has agreed to eliminate the power or put it underground or behind?
Well, they're now working on designs and cost estimates to do that. That'll be another component of this is discussing, they'll put together a total cost estimate for it. Then we have some conversations to have with ComEd as to how that cost share might be approached.
Thank you.
Any others? Thank you.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Yeah, very excited. Good job, Seth. Thank you.
Secondly, I would like to introduce you to Hal Sprague. We have a community solar project possibility.
I'm attorney Jim Hirsch from Garion and Eichen. We represent Trajectory and just wanted to introduce ourselves as well as let Hale talk about the project. He tells me it's only it's a minimum of about 3 hours, so.
So thank you very much to President Gustus for letting me take the time here. I'll try to keep it to the 5 minutes you asked for, and the audience, I want to make sure that you can hear me. So if you can't, raise your hand. We have some documents here to, if somebody wants to sort of follow along. I put a packet in front of each one of you, and I'll sort of walk through that a little bit. And I would say, first of all, Trajectory Energy Partners is an Illinois-based solar development company. We've done a number of projects already in Illinois, and some of that information is in here. In your packet, on the left-hand side is a very quick, an easy document, the 2-pager summary of the project. Underneath that is a solar overview, which means a lot of questions that people ask about solar in general. I'm not going to go through that document at all. And on the right-hand side is a slide deck or a PowerPoint presentation, which it goes into a fair amount of detail, which I don't think we have time for. I want you to know that you've got that, and my information is in here. So if we can't get your questions all answered tonight, then I'm available. We will be holding an open house in July for members of the public, and anybody here who wants to learn more about it or has questions, we can do that then. But I wanted to take just a couple of minutes tonight as an awareness overview for you. If you look at the 2-pager that's on the left-hand side of your packet, this is the easy way to take a look at where this is. If you turn it to the back side, you can see that this project is about a 20-acre project in northern part of Roscoe. It's out of the way. It's in a place that's very difficult to see from any road. Unless you're a biker on the bike path, you probably will never even notice that it's there. And it will create enough power for about 400 homes. Hopefully, many people in Roscoe will get some of the electrons from a community solar project like this. And there's a number of benefits that I will explain in a minute. What community solar does, for those of you that are not familiar with that, is it's nowhere near what you normally think of as being solar on a building, solar on somebody's garage or house. Community solar means there are several thousand panels that are out in the field, and those panels are all hooked together and then hooked up to the ComEd grid. ComEd's accepting that power, just like it takes power from nuclear plants and coal plants and natural gas plant power. It's all in the grid. It's kind of like a swimming pool of electrons, and then ComEd will distribute that. So when you turn your lights on here, because you're close to this site, you probably will be the main beneficiaries of those actual electrons, but no one is getting that power directly into their home. It's coming into the ComEd grid and then distributed from there. So any questions about what community solar means? It's a sort of a relatively new. Drive down many roads of Illinois now, you're starting to see more and more of these projects around. This project doesn't cost the community anything. This is going to be, it's on private land. The landowner has already signed an option for a lease for this property. We have to go through many stages of approvals, including all the local zoning, and there's a process for permitting at the state level as well. That will take several months. In fact, it will probably be at least, I'll say 9 months from now before we even know that we have approval from the state after the local zoning process. And then it will be another year after that probably before it's built and people can start to participate. And the way people of all kinds, people and businesses, churches, nonprofits can participate in a local community solar project is by being subscribers. When you subscribe to a community solar project, there's no building on your property. You just say that you agree to have a certain number of panels out there in the solar field attributed to you, so that every month the power that's produced by them comes to you in your invoice for that, and you agree to pay that every month. At the same time, ComEd is getting that power and it's going to send you its normal bill, and they're going to discount you for that power at a greater amount than what you're going to pay the solar company. So everybody who's a subscriber is going to get a small discount on the amount of power that they're getting every month. Every month bill from ComEd is matched with the solar company bill, and between the two of them, you're going to pay less for your electricity than you would just with ComEd. The other benefits to the community are interesting and somewhat you probably wouldn't think of it, but when we rezone or reassess property from a farm field, which is what this is now, to an industrial use, the assessment is much higher, and so the property taxes are higher, and so the county, the Winnebago County property revenue will go up, and to the extent that the village gets some of that for schools or whatever, that'll be something that's a benefit to the community. The subscriptions is another benefit to the community that I already described, and also this particular project is in a bucket, or it's a type of community solar that involves more participation by community members, and we are able to get a bigger subsidy from the state for this and turn around and give some of that money by funding a project of the choosing of the community members. So we hopefully will have some input from you all, from the members of the public, to make that a donation for a local project, such as a local park or some training program or something in the school that's an educational benefit. Those are all things that are possible for the local donation that we make as part of this. To give you some examples, or at least two, in the slide deck that I showed you, there's a page 5, which shows you that very close by in downtown Rockford, we've done a project where there was a landfill. That's a project that's about half the size of this one in terms of the acreage, but that's already up and running, and that one is made so that only low and moderate income people could be subscribers, and they're getting a deeper discount than most people do. But that's going very well. There are a lot of people there that are subscribing and seeing great. And some of them I've seen 0 electric bills from those low income folks. And then the project on the right hand side of that page, Gar Creek, is in Kankakee. Same thing. A lot of people are getting a lot that's low and moderate income people, and Ahmed and the solar company running that site are providing a very deep discount. So most of the people that are subscribed to that are actually seeing 0 electric bills, which is great for them. So that's about it for now. Again, I'm available I can answer questions now, but I know we have limited time, and I'm available to talk to you afterwards or on another day. I'm happy to do that too, but if you want to take questions now.
I
think
one question. Can any person in Roscoe, Village of Roscoe, participate in this, or is it bound by certain boundaries, or?
Well, actually, technically, it could be anyone in the ComEd territory, but we can make it so that we're focusing the eligibility on people of Roscoe itself. Anyone, including a nonprofit or a business, this building itself, anytime you have a ComEd bill today, you can turn that into a subscription.
And so what if there's more people that want access to than there is?
That's a good question. It's a limit. It's a finite number of panels out there, which means there's a finite number of subscriptions. So it would be first come, first serve. But I can also say that having solicited subscriptions in the past, it's not as easy as it sounds to get people to understand it, sign up, and want to be part of it. It's just because it's relatively complicated, and maybe it's hard to get one's head around that and to say, oh yeah, I'm sure I have to do that. But I mean, we'd love to have them, obviously all fill out, but I don't think that that's going to be. There are waiting lists today for the sites that have already been built in Illinois. So if you said, so can I sign up for one of the other 100 sites that's already up and running? The answer is they're really full, suggesting they have wait lists. So that if somebody leaves, they go to another state because they're moving. Then the solar company wants to fill, that hole and have somebody else become the subscriber for that. So it's a flexible system.
Following up on Mike's, is there a minimum number of subscribers you need to make this project?
To be full, yeah, to be minimum, that would be up to the company building and operating it, but usually they start soliciting when they're about halfway built. And that's a time, it's just a matter of months. So when they get to that point, they start to go out and get people to sign up, and then they say, by the way, Mrs. Jones, your subscription will start in about 3 or 4 months when we turn the project on eventually.
Hal, are subscriptions all in standard equal modules, or can people buy larger or smaller shares of it?
It's usually based on how much you use, but it's beyond that now. It used to be that was finite to what you actually used in a year. Now the state has expanded that to be up to twice as much as you use in a year. I don't know how the companies will, because this is so new, the second law that was passed, I don't know how that will be actually done. But it won't, it usually is, it's not going to cover from the outset, it's not intended to cover your entire bill, because your entire bill includes the electricity you buy, the delivery you pay ComEd for, and the taxes and the fees. Usually they focus on the usage, which is the electricity you buy. And again, they can double that and cover more of your bill. In any given month in the summertime, when there's a lot of sun and maybe your usage is low because you don't have air conditioning, you might have zero bills from the combined bills. But in the wintertime, it's going to be the opposite of that.
You are paying a subscription fee.
No, there's no fee. It's free to get in, it's free to leave. There are no penalties.
Why wouldn't people sign up for it? It's free.
Because it's complicated and they don't believe it's too good to be true.
You're paying, it's not a subscription.
Oh,
fee. You're
right,
making
they're
payments.
but they're paying just for the electricity. They're paying it the same as they are today. They'd be paying two companies for the same electricity, only they're going to get them combined at a discount.
So ComEd is the facilitator
Correct.
of electricity
Right.
and you're
They're the deliverer of the electricity, and the solar company putting it into their system, and they work together to make all the numbers work.
you're saying that the customer who signs a subscription doesn't pay. They're just subscribing to electricity from the solar versus ComEd.
They don't pay any extra. They don't pay.
Bills, I explained the bills, we explained it pretty well.
Okay. So what will happen in any?
Yes, just one more question.
Sure.
Because this is the first time I'm seeing this. We're not gonna make any decision tonight. This is just for information. right?
Correct. Yeah.
We can have time.
Welcome to call me anytime. Happy to do that.
Is the picture here, the Rockford, where is that at?
It's in the northwest part of Rockford. There was a landfill at one time. Actually, there was a quarry which became a landfill, and then they couldn't do anything with it because they couldn't build on it because it was a landfill. And they said, oh, it's owned by the city. It's on Horseman Street. Horseman Avenue.
Okay.
Horseman.
Now, when you first presented this, you had identified potentially 450 subscribers is what would be pretty much allotted.
If those were residents, that's a number that sort of assumes a certain size of usage. If somebody has a, $150 bill, that's the kind of, but if you were a church or this building, it would be much bigger. So you would have, if they were all that size, you would have fewer of them.
And you also gave kind of an average of what a subscriber might save a year.
In the last iteration of these things, I think it's really easy to think about, maybe you're going to save about 1 month's bill.
And as our attorney asked, would you just clarify the billing process one more time?
I'll try. ComEd is going to give you your bill as you normally would see it, but after you become a subscriber, you will get credit every month for the amount of electricity that your panels, let's say they've given you 40 panels in the field that are yours, they have your name on them. So 40 panels every month will have a certain amount of electricity depending on clouds or sun. And so ComEd will say, we know how many dollars that equals. And so you get a negative number on your ComEd bill. Then shortly after that, I think it's going to be not too short, like a month or two after that, the community solar company that will send you a bill to charge you for that same exact electricity. But they're going to charge you at a rate of some percentage less, like 90% or 80%. So combined, you're going to have that savings every time as you look at them together. It's not as easy to sit there and go, oh, I see that, because there's a delay between when ComEd subtracts it from your bill and the other company charges you. It could be a couple of months later. So that can be frustrating.
So the assumption is you're gonna get a discount electric bill.
Right. I mean, that's.
Why wouldn't I sign up for all?
Sign an agreement and it has all that in
Sign up
writing.
for all of the panels would restrict me from saying, okay, I subscribe to 40 panels versus 100 panels.
It's limited. It's limited going twice the power.
It's limited to the amount of power you use in your facility, your building, or your home.
Thank you. But before we adjourn presentation, Scott, would you point out to everyone where this North Pasture Solar?
So the map that's up there now that I was scribbling all over, I'll delete this and zoom in, but I wanted to show a couple of things. The trapezoid that's got sort of cross hatching in it is where they're proposing to put it. It's at the end of Edith Lane. Edith Lane is a dead end road that is industrially zoned. That stubs off Main Street north of Elevator Road. And this is just north of where Forest City Gear.
Here's elevator, school is here.
So what I drew, that big line that you see there, Hal mentioned that you have to be a ComEd customer. You have to live in ComEd's territory to be part of this program. For new trustees and for everyone present, that is sometimes a complicating factor in our village. Our villages exist over two utility jurisdictions. And that's the horizontal line I drew across the screen there. It is approximately 1,300 feet south of, parallel to McCurry Road. And it is the northern property line of the proposed North Pasture site. Everyone that lives south of that gets their power from ComEd and their gas from NICOR. Everyone north of that, power and electric both are provided through the Rock Energy Co-op. Sometimes that's a meaningful difference. One ComEd allows for options in your energy supply. We ourselves, the village of Roscoe, partners with the city of Rockford and the city of McChesney Park, village of McChesney Park, to do an aggregate alternate energy provider as a bid process. Because ComEd, if you're a ComEd customer, they were deregulated. They have options to shop the power supply. Everyone in the Rock Energy Cooperative is locked into Rock Energy. They do not have options to shop supply for energy. It's interesting when you see that line, as you look here to the east of the site, there's a lot of undeveloped land there, and it is split between two utility districts. And to the extent that people have explored developing that, it can be a factor. It can be complicating. That all their utility needs might not be served by one public utility. But to zoom in a little closer here. Again, yeah, so Main Street sort of running north and south through the center of this. I'll even draw on it. So, or excuse me, that's 251. This is Hononegah Road, Elevator Road. This is Edith Lane. That would serve directly into the parcel they're talking about. It is bound on its diagonal eastern border by the Stonebridge bike path.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll draw that.
Item 5.3. Within this, you'll see that there are several appointments to be made. First, 5.3.1. I have a motion for the appointment and confirmation of Samuel Hawley as Chief of Police for the Village of Roscoe. Go ahead.
My second.
Second by Deb Cox.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty, yes, Flock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 5.3.2, may I have a motion for the appointment and confirmation of Scott Sanders as zoning administrator for the Village of Roscoe?
So moved. I'll second.
Right,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Item 5.3.3, may I have a motion for the appointment and confirmation of Mark Olson as village treasurer for the Village of Roscoe?
So moved. Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Flock.
Yes.
Item 5.3.4, may I have a motion for the appointment and confirmation of Joseph Kerlinkus Law Office LLC as village attorney for the Village of Roscoe?
So moved.
Second.
Simon,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Item 5.3.5, may I have a motion for the appointment confirmation of Bear Graham and Associates LLC as village engineer for the village of Roscoe?
So moved.
Second.
Babcock,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Item 5.4, I would like to call forward our chief of police, Sam Hawley, who is going to introduce our new police officer.
Thank you.
Up here. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. This is David Moore. A little bit about David. He started his law enforcement career in 1986 as a Boone County Corrections Officer. In 1991, he went to work for the Rockton Police Department, where he stayed till 93, where he got hired on the Boone County Sheriff's Department, where he spent the next 24 years, retiring in 2017. During that time with the Boone County Sheriff's Department, he was a patrol deputy, canine handler, DE task force officer, and narcotic and general case detective. In 2017, he went to work for the Freeport Police Department for 3 years. In 2020, he joined the Rockton Police Department until recently being hired by the Roscoe Police Department, where according to him, he plans on staying until he really retires. Anyone want to come on up? Go ahead and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, David Moore,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
That I will faithfully discharge my duties as a patrol officer of the police department
I will faithfully discharge my duties as a patrol officer for the Roscoe Police Department,
for the village of Roscoe, the county of Winnebago,
Village of Roscoe, and the County of Winnebago,
state of Illinois, according to the best of my ability.
State of Illinois, best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Treasurer's report. Treasurer is indisposed at this time, but we will turn this over to Scott.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, there we go. I'm optimistic. There it is. Yes. Already failing. Can I live up to Steve on this? Okay, expenditures for approval tonight are the bills, the expenditures for a list of $56,597.48. This is in addition to payroll expenses of $86,322.66 and payroll taxes and IMRF contributions of $6,830.33. This is a total general fund expenditures of $149,750.47. This leaves a general fund checking account balance of $9,222,440.02. There are no MFT expenditures to approve.
I make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Are there any questions? No questions?
Babcock,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Sima.
Yes.
Item 7.1, is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 6th?
So moved. So moved. I'll second.
Are you doing the consent agenda as a whole or? Each item separately. Okay. Block,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Item 7.2. Recommendation to the board to approve the special event permit for National Night Out. It's noted in your documents that's going to be Tuesday, August 1st. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes.
Section 8.1. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R31, an agreement providing for the purchase by the Village of Roscoe of certain real property at 11243 Main Street, Roscoe. PIN number, as you see there. Dollar amount in the resolution, $240,000 plus closing costs.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Block,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Item 8.2, may I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R32, approving an agreement for the completion of the necessary repairs at the Porter Park cabin.
I'd like to make that form of a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? If you note in your documents, our Public Works Director had gone out for competitive bids, and low bid received here is at $74,671, and it involves extensive work repairing the outside as well as the interior of the cabin. Exact date this will begin is to be determined, but the cabin will not be rented, is not being rented at this time. Anticipating that the work can begin once this is authorized. Any questions? Call for the vote, please.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Block.
Yes.
Item 8.3, may I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-07, approving a map amendment from commercial retail district to commercial general for the property commonly known as 11076 Main Street, the number there. And as noted, the ZBA had a recommended approval. And if you remember at the committee of the whole, the vote was 1 yes, 5 no.
So moved.
Second.
Malaco,
No.
Block,
No.
Petty,
No.
Simon,
No.
Wright,
No.
Babcock.
No.
That's why, President Gutterson votes on this as well.
No. 8.4. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-08? This is a map amendment from the commercial retail district to R2, two-family residential district for the properties at 54, 59, 5473, 5487, 5501, Hodges Run. PIN numbers are listed there on the agenda. And as you see, this motion failed at the ZBA, and it also failed at any of the whole.
So moved.
Second.
Babcock,
No.
Malaco,
No.
Simon,
No.
Wright,
No.
Petty,
No.
Block,
No.
Gustafson.
No. Item number 9, before we vote on this, the attorney and the designer asked to modify or present some new information.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, I've been before you before. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again. My name is Tom Green. I'm the attorney for the Village of Roscoe. This is Dan Saavedra, the architect on the project. We did submit 4 items earlier. I'll try and be brief. I really appreciate positive comments from the audience. We submitted a letter addressing the issues of management of the residential property to the east. I was pleased last week when we spoke to the residents. It was a good discussion. There were residents there speaking in favor. Obviously, management was pretty negative, but nevertheless, there were those who spoke up in favor. And I will say I was stopped in the parking lot by at least 3 people saying they appreciated the development. And I will say I checked with the trustees and they've had some positive comments coming in from residents. So we take that all as very positive. Obviously, the management's opposed, and we've tried to address their concerns. I also submitted the results of, we did go out there with do a sound test. We had a decibel meter. We put well, let's say the results of the test, we had amplified sound. And I remind you, we will not have amplified sound, but the point of the test was to put a boombox out there, turn it on as loud as it would go, and then see if you could hear it at the edge of the property. I'm pleased to report there was, and you have the results of what we submitted. It was almost imperceptible. It was virtually imperceptible at the edge of the property. Obviously, there ultimately will be no amplified sound. The sound you will have there is the sound you have in this room. People talking, people visiting, people communicating with each other and enjoying the property. So we believe that was very positive. One of the trustees had reached out to the former owner of the property just to get some background information. They agreed to submit a letter. We submitted that to you as well. So you can take that for what it's worth. The last thing we submitted was a site plan showing that the natural trees currently surround the pavilion location on the lot line that surround the backside of the pavilion and on the lot line, showing how that would look. Dan has been able to actually shift the pavilion 25 feet farther to the west, which will save quite a few more trees. I'll let Dan kind of show you that. Here,
well, thanks, Tom, and thank you very much. I'm also a Roscoe resident for 27 years, and we are the architects for the community center, and right now we are doing the pavilion. Couple of things that we have done. We are going to move this pavilion to be 160 feet. You receive a piece of a PDF that says 135, but we are moving it to 160 feet from the back of the property, the back of the pavilion to the property line. Why we are doing that? There are 2 sets of trees in this area and in this area. Those trees, at the canopy of those trees, we have a variation from 40 to 80 to 90 feet in different areas. So this is substantially big in all of the trees that we have here. Those 2 sections of trees are going to work as a buffer for for any sound that comes from this pavilion. In addition to that, the back side of the pavilion in this area is a section of 25 feet in which we have the bathrooms, we have a concession area. So any activity that happens is going to happen in this area. So that is approximately 180 feet to the back side of the pavilion. Then you have 22 feet approximately for the areas where the bathrooms and the storage are located. So those elements also contribute to be a buffer for the community and the residential portion in this area. We are, as we discussed before, you requested that we do a handicap parking area in this location. We are putting sidewalks around this area. So we are maintaining and keeping all of the trees that are in this location. I know some of you walked the property and saw the stakes that are there. Those stakes are now going to be moved 25 to 30 feet approximately to the west. So we are saving all of those trees. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Dan. I think I've said it already. I'll probably say it once or twice more. Based on the things that we have attempted to do in terms of.
I have a question, can I interrupt?
You may.
You know, obviously, we're all brand new to this. We're not here with the history of how this all became what it is. Don't know any of the history of the management. I've heard all the people that are for this. One of the things that occurred to me, in the previous meeting, when we had this, pretty clear to me, it's like, it cannot be moved. If we move it, the grant won't be approved and moved. Now, all of a sudden, it's moved. How'd that happen?
I think it was an incorrect statement to say it could not possibly be.
Well,
if
I'm not mistaken, it was made though.
Right.
Because that was one of the concessions asked, can you move it? Right. And then now all of a sudden you can move it. Why is that?
Because you can. And
because the grant won't be affected.
It should not be affected. Okay. And Don was not here at the time and did not correct me. So what we've done is tried to accommodate as best we can. We did the test of amplified sound. There will be no perceptible sound from the area of the pavilion for the residents that reside to the east. Based on all of our tests and all of the information and the buffering, that should not happen. In the location we have always proposed, and it's been on paper for 3, maybe 4 years, there will be the lowest intensity of use and the quietest use. And what I mean by that, Dan, if you could help me, the use will be in here. Okay. If this were picked up and moved out here, that would create a large expanse for large activity for multiple uses to much more sound and much more activity. Still, there wouldn't be amplified sound. We're totally okay with that. But this would expand. Here is what we have always intended: intimate use, a quiet use, a town center, a campus that is got a building here, a building here, a building here, there's trees back here, keeping the sound in. Putting it out in an open field would jeopardize that concept. So moving the pavilion significantly north and a bit west would only intensify the potential impact the pavilion could have on the property to the east. Currently, we want small, we want comfortable and intimate uses there. We do not want to see these large expanses moved. That's not what we want to do. Plus, the cost of moving it would be significant. We have already arranged for sewer and water to be available down here. We have not made available sewer and water here. That would be a significant cost, bringing the project, frankly, into jeopardy. So that is another very difficult concept for us to deal with. We do not want to destroy the vision and utility of the pavilion by relocating. We think what we've created is a wonderful thing for the citizens of the village, the citizens of the township. Our citizens are your citizens. And moving it would really not accomplish anything. There is potential for sound to travel easier this way than if this is located down here. It could actually be worse for the property to the east. So again, in closing, the pavilion in its proposed location should have no impact on the use and enjoyment of property to the east for the residents who reside there. And again, we appreciate those who have come today and in support of this. We are happy to answer questions. A couple of the trustees are here. The supervisors here. If you have any questions, we're happy to address.
Let me start out. First of all, I'd like to say I'm a new trustee as well. I'm in support of this. Okay, I support the vision. I support Founders Square. I support the concept. I also support the multi-purpose pavilion. I guess what I'm struggling with is, aren't you guys selling yourself short by limiting the ability to have amplification? Better, bigger events. And could you put this somewhere else where that could possibly happen, right? So if you move it and you can have sound and you can use it for many more things. Nick spoke about that. He'd like to see this young constituent that would like to see, more events. Just this, I can't see like even having a form of us here. If we weren't amplified, you would have difficulty. So, pretty easy. But something that,
Is that the amplified sound part of this?
yeah.
Was right on cue, wasn't it?
Why didn't somebody control that? See, that's one of the problems.
Well, and in response to that, I mean, really amplified sound is not really integral to what we've ever wanted to do. I mean, we didn't initially say no to it, but when it became a concern for the zoning board of appeals, we were fine with not having it because it's not really what we're all about. We do not want to be a concert venue. And if we have amplified sound and stick that pavilion out in the middle of the open field, it's going to be loud and it's going to be heard all over town. And that's not what we're about. That's not what we want to do. We want to create this comfortable, nice community town center campus that will be enjoyable for all people and not have negative impacts on the surrounding properties.
Earlier, you had mentioned that along the Prairie Rose, you were going to put some trees that were, I guess, native to the area.
I think there's still a plan to put trees
There's
behind.
still a plan to put trees in the area. We are going to remove some of the voluntary trees that have been grown in there, but we will do additional landscaping around the pavilion.
And if moved, why not move those trees around to a new location?
Well, we're going to create this. I mean, we're going to preserve
This is stays.
Right.
And if we put additional trees, where do you want it someplace in here or?
Let's go with Scott's plan.
Okay.
You were gonna put trees all along here as a berm or along a berm you had mentioned. Why not put that trees around another location? If we're worried about sound, just move the trees and the pavilion.
Again, I believe the sound, and I believe the statistics show that the sound would potentially be worse out here. It would be much harder to create the sound buffer. And this creates the intimate, enjoyable town center that has been the concept from the very beginning. And it wouldn't solve any problem that the property owners to the east, well, the way we've got it planned now, there will be no perceptible sound for those who live in those apartments.
In addition to that, I spoke with Scott. I like the concept that Scott did. We are both professionals in the design field. But the question of moving this parking lot here, putting a yard area, grass area here and putting the pavilion here, also completely splits the use of the community that we are trying to generate. If we have kids playing in between two parking lots, that could create an issue for us. If these kids are playing here, they are far away from the parking and they are far away from the traffic of the vehicular traffic and more into what this is going to be, which is a town square. And that is the idea of this. If this will be located entirely here, it creates some issues for safety, in my opinion. So, and we talk with Scott about that.
So Scott, do you have an opinion since this additional move is that in make it worth? And then the other thing, do you have any experience like, when you drive along the highway, you're driving by communities that are right next to the highway. So whoever does that, the roads builds these huge retainer walls. With that little section there with a retainer wall covered up by the trees, would that enhance it or take away from it or help isolate it?
My opinion is that the gigantic, huge leap forward in this proposal was the elimination of amplified sound. I think that was the concern from not just minute one, but from about 18 months in advance of minute. The second we ever saw amphitheater or band shell, we started sort of softly expressing caution. We've learned from recent history that that's a delicate balance, amplified sound and surrounding residential. So my opinion is that's been the winning compromise already, is eliminating amplified sound. Now what we're talking about is human conversation in a picnic shelter. I think having gone out, as many of you did, and seen where they had it staked, and seen and witnessed that necessitated the removal of a fair amount of existing trees. I think a 25 or 30-foot shift not only saves a good amount of existing trees. They're still willing to do, those are mostly deciduous trees, so they will lose leaves in the winter. Now, I don't think there'll be a lot of outdoor pavilion use in the winter, to be honest. But their willingness to still provide some evergreen screen behind that, my opinion is, as proposed tonight, modified and slid in further, preserving more existing trees, still adding the evergreens, no amplified sound. I don't think there's concerns left from staff anyway for its location.
Can I speak on, I see some of our constituents here from Hidden Creek subdivision, and we had Hidden Creek Estates winery wedding venue, put a thing, and it's causing severe impairment to our liberty to enjoyment. That's an issue that we're going to bring up tonight, is how do we work with that and mitigate that. So this is a very sensitive issue to me, and that's one of the reasons why I ran here. I think that if you are going to limit yourself to unamplified sound, you're going to limit the ability to do things for this, venues, different things. But if that's what it is, we have to ensure that that's how it stays, not just for this board or not for the board with the township, but it has to stay that way and limit that way. You can't see something come in and then, a couple of years down the road, we're saying, hey, you know what, we're going to put in a new board, or somebody else is coming in. It's going to say, we're going to request amplified. We're going to have this special use permit for a concert or something. And it starts going down that slope. So that, hear me out. We only have one chance to dig, right? You can sort of change, people come and go off the boards, ordinances can change, but you have one chance to dig. So if we commit to this and we say, okay, you know what, we're going to allow you to do this, we have to have something in perpetuity that says this is how it's going to be. It's not going to change, that we're going to protect the people that live there. This is the deal that we agreed upon, and this is the way it will stay. And that's something that we have to work on to get that through. And that, I would think that the people that are here, Hidden Creek Estates, or Hidden Creek, probably would love to see that happen with our wedding venue, right? Like the things that are upsetting us here, we would love to have an agreement like that where we could actually monitor it. Is there an ability for you guys to be studies to have self-policing, right? Have a site monitor on at events, right? So they know if they're over a certain decibel or something where we can preventatively head these things off. I think that's always good. If we have some type of decibel reader or something, so we know, boom, it's over that, boom, right away that we need to alter things or whatever. We can also keep a catalog of what events or what type of things generated more sound from the sound amplifier. And really, when we look at having future events or things like that, we can say, well, this has generated a lot of disturbance to the folks in this area. So I think self-policing, having a monitor involved, having that available, would head off a lot of issues as far as enforcement.
Excuse me a second. Would you take a look at the Exhibit A, conditions of special use permit? Some of those suggestions are those what you would like to add to the conditions here under special use permit. You'll see that there are 5 there. The first one states that there shall be no amplified music or amplified sound system used as any part of any outdoor event. Second, there shall be no service, sale, or consumption of alcohol on the premises. 3, that all outdoor gatherings or events shall cease at 9 p.m. 4, that a representative or employee of the owner shall be on site during all scheduled events. 5, that the location of each of the proposed special uses shall be substantially the same size and in the same relative location as shown on the site plan attached here too. So perhaps you can suggest adding 6, the monitor you suggest.
Yeah, I would think that would be fair, and have the, responsibility of the person, like you said, that's in charge of the event. Be trained and know what those sound levels are. Yes.
Perhaps add it to the duties of the person, the on-site person.
Right.
But is there going to be an on-site person? Last we heard, there's going to be no one there. It's whoever's the last one there to lock it up, make sure you turn the lights out before you leave.
That's in the community center. In the pavilion, it's, well, are we gonna have a employee on site throughout the entire duration of any event that occurs? I mean, it's an open park. People
It's-
can just come and put down a blanket and start going. Lunch or
It's
something.
listed here under conditions of special use.
Well, these were ones based on the above presentation last time. That's what those were. So these are just ones I took from your presentation.
Yeah, that wasn't, those weren't all imposed at the zoning board of appeals.
No, these were from your presentation at the last meeting. I just added those on there just so they had, the board had something to look at. But those are what part of your presentation was last time, just those items.
So,
That's time for discussion.
okay.
Don't know that we were gonna have a employee on site for the entire 6 hours of somebody who might be using the pavilion from noon to 6 o'clock or something. I can't, it's not sure that would happen.
Certainly, these are all just proposals.
These-
We're not
yeah,
straight to board,
so-
so.
So if somebody rents this out, whoever signs off to be in charge of that event or whatever, it's a family thing, whatever it is. Should that person be the person that's in charge? That's, that we train, say, hey, listen, here's, you don't need an employee, right? Can you have somebody that's under use of doing it?
I think that's a very doable suggestion where we add to the contract of use, the person signing the contract of use is in charge of monitoring that all the rules are followed, including no amplified sound and various other things. That is certainly something we could add.
Compliance with the closure.
Yeah, and then add a penalty to it if they don't, so I mean, otherwise, if there's.
Our policy of it is if they're not doing it, then you bring it back for hearing on the special use. So we have that enforcement.
No, but if he assigns a person.
Oh, that's there, yeah.
Yeah, if they assign a person who signs up to it, say, I'm gonna rent this place, somebody's in charge. And that person takes responsibility to make sure they follow the rules. So if he's not, doesn't follow the rules, and there's a penalty for that function.
And the way we could handle that is we do have a deposit that has to be put down.
Okay.
And if they don't follow the rules, they lose their deposit. And it's not $50.
I mean, I think that's one of the main issues we have, is it a park, it's a special use, somebody's gotta do it to make sure the rules are followed. If they don't follow the rules, if they sign up to it, we're gonna follow the rules and there's penalties. Then I
We will
think
try
that's-
and implement that into our contract of use.
I also think that one last thing is that, some of the, people that are, I think it's a lot of this perception as well, because, if you want it to be a park, it's a park. If you want it to be a venue, it's a venue, right? I mean, I think so what you're saying, this is more of a park-like setting. It's not a venue. It will never be a venue. So like, Nick, who got up there and said he would like to have some of these concerts and things like that, that was sort of like what he his, thinking, oh, we get this is the next thing we do.
I did cringe when he said that, because that's not what, we cannot have amplified sound. We will not be having concerts.
I know, but
I appreciate that he was looking.
That's what he wants, that's how this happens, right? So I guess that's something that we have to assure the residents that it's not gonna become that, right? I mean, and my thought was of moving it, you would have the opportunity to do some really unique, cool things, with the support of the village.
The problem is moving it creates the monster that you're trying to get rid
It's not their business. That's what I'm saying. That was the trade-off. So if you're saying it's not gonna be a venue, it will never be a venue. So we won't even go down there.
I would like to suggest that you look over the conditions for special use. And we add additionals as we are brainstorming here, and that we lay this over for 2 weeks We have it all together. What I would like to see is your contract and how you would implement them. You mentioned that it would be doable to have the person who runs the facility be the responsible party for making sure that it's closed and everyone exits.
And all the rules are followed.
So we need to see exactly what that would look like and how you would implement and make your renters aware of the do's and don'ts, special use. Thoughts?
A couple questions, just to clarify this. The alcohol, that was a comment you guys made previously. Do we want that in there at all? No alcohol at all? Obviously, you're not gonna have it for beer events, so. But we want that completely prevented.
I want to ask a question for my own clarification. What we have expressed previously, certainly for the community center, and I had always assumed by extension the pavilion, was that there's no regular service or consumption of alcohol, but it would be allowed either through a caterer, which is more applicable to the inside, or a Class T license approved by this board. That's how we handle our own parks. There are events where we allow the sale of alcohol in Leland Park or Riverside Park that we approve through a Class T license. Is that what you're asking for?
We had anticipated that.
Okay.
What?
Yes, we had anticipated.
That's why we're clarifying.
I mean, there is gonna be a potential wedding reception in the room or
Yeah.
a celebration of life or a birthday party or a family reunion. They want to get a caterer, get the appropriate license, then that's just the village does not allow. People can't come, put their blanket out and have a 12-pack of beer.
Yeah, bring a
That's
cooler.
not allowed.
No.
That is not allowed.
But who's gonna be out there to monitor that?
Well, I mean, it's like
It's
any.
gonna be out when I wanna go smoke out in the pavilion and have my beer with.
Who's out in any park. You have.
Officers at Leland Park during Fall Festival watching the beer tent.
I'm just talking day in and day out. If somebody walks out into the park and does something, all we can do is try and monitor that. But, you know,
So you're
like
saying
we do
no
any.
alcohol in the outdoor pavilion?
Like there isn't
Alcohol
on
would be
any of our
available, even in a wedding, it'd be available only in the.
Inside the community center.
Well,
You wouldn't have a bar set up on the pavilion, it'd be outside.
I
inside.
don't know whether the catering license would allow that. I'd have to ask Scott. That would be up to the.
I just can't see realistically that you say, oh, it's not allowed, that people aren't gonna go out there and have their 6-pack or a cooler and have a beer or two. Or,
But I don't want to create problems.
is this something,
Creating problems.
what do you do in a situation like this? I mean, is that even maybe?
If it's considered a park.
It's legal or not legal?
No, unless they have. Yeah, and then we just deal with it through citation.
So it's not legal anymore.
And if they have weddings and they have alcohol, we don't like outcome. No more, we just don't issue it. It's that easy. It's another way we control what goes on over there to our extent.
True.
Why can't we have this put into the ordinance? All the things that we just spoke of, what Carol.
This is the ordinance, yes.
Yes,
This is
I
the
know, I
ordinance.
know. But we haven't, there's nothing delineated in the ordinance that talks about liquor, light pollution, sound pollution, police protection, times of operation. Can't that be put into the ordinance?
That's what we're talking about now, this.
Yeah, I know,
special use
I do
If
understand.
it is, so I guess if you want additional items, I mean, talk about hours of operation. Generally put the hours, what hours do you generally?
Our parks are open, I believe, 8 to 10.
It's a third normally, but I put it so we just go with.
It's like any.
Yeah, whatever.
I believe that's similar to the parks.
And then I guess the end time for the events, is that going to be at
9?
9, or is that, I have 9 in here, I think we talked about one
But
point.
10 is when they have to be out.
Yeah, that's what was
Am I-
mentioned at the.
And that's when the lights power down.
Don't know that to be correct.
So are you
We haven't-
suggesting
we haven't-
that the special use state, all gatherings end at 9 and premises vacated by 10?
Well, that's what I read somewhere.
Okay. All right, and then we're going to add the monitor of sound. Any other suggestions?
Number of people.
Both buildings have capacities, yes.
And that the renter is responsible, the responsible party, for adhering to rules. Anything else?
No, I guess I just have one thing. I mean, I like your concept and idea from the start. I feel you made very good accommodations for people's stuff. And I don't say it very often, but I did not like Scott's design that he came up with for.
But all right.
Well, say it often, you know, it's a very good job, but as a quick, for that safety concern for children. I have young children. There's been multiple accidents lately with children in vehicles. You know, I couldn't see that. So.
As a professional, as a design professional, and Scott will understand this, that is the danger of doing a sketch and making it public. So.
Well, here's the thing I would say, you know, is that because Scott did that, one of the issues was moving it. Okay, you guys came back and moved it, and I think that's a good thing. I think what we're struggling here, you know, we're in a position, we like the concept. What we want to have for a vision is turn Roscoe into a destination people want to come to. But at the same time, we don't want to make a mistake. We ended up happening where South Beloit annexed a place. Now we can't control the sound. So if 4 years from now, you guys say, boot us out, we don't want it to go away. So I think if there's a way for us to prove this and say, with the provision that we're going to work out all of the stipulations. And I think it's, you know, we're struggling to figure out how we make everybody happy in this. Obviously, we heard from a very choreographed group tonight for this. And maybe the other parts that disagree with weren't as quite organized, but we heard from them the other night. So there's on both sides of this. And the only way this is going to happen that's good for the community is what we do, what we said we came to do, and that's listen to the constituents. So appreciate everybody being here, struggling with this, but want to come up with something that's satisfactory for everybody. But like Mike said, I think we're looking for a way, how do we bridge this? Because we'd like to have the township working with us in the future for other things that we're going to do. You know? So.
I would like to have someone make a motion and that we consider this our official first reading. We vetted a lot of things here and that we get a clean, prepared ordinance list of special uses that we see your rental agreement incorporating some of these things. And that in 2 weeks, we have this nice package. The movement, 30 feet of the trees are going to look like. I see that it's there, but if there's some other way you want to present it as part of the total package, because this may have come about in the spur of the moment, meaning over the last few days or so. So that we now have the total concept and you have heard our rules of usage, so to speak. You can discuss with your group, livable, they're incorporated in the contract, one package, and it's presented 2 weeks.
For second reading? So you're gonna vote on a first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Babcock. What are we voting on? The motion.
First reading.
First reading. Seconded. Sure. Okay. Babcock.
Clarify for me this first reading. That means.
It means it comes back to our next.
Okay. With the
With the
plan, that
changes,
all these things are going to be incorporated. So that
Right.
we try to meet everybody in the middle.
Right.
And the next time will be a final reading. So that
Right.
yeah, and either way.
Yes.
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Clock.
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Wright.
Yes.
Silent.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, going on then to 9.2. Ordinance approving variance to the parking lot.
I apologize, I didn't address that, but it kind of goes hand in hand with what we.
So, yeah, it's
People
first
together.
reading and we'll keep it together.
Thank you very much.
So moved. Second.
Wright.
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Clock.
Yeah.
Babcock.
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Malaco.
Yes.
Item 9.3. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R33, authorizing an agreement with Ansel Glick Diamond Bush Luciani and Reaper PC to serve as special counsel for the village of Roscoe in relation to certain zoning and land use. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Made by trustee Wright. Is there a second?
Second.
Simon.
So suspend the rules.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
right.
Motion.
That was under suspending the rule.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. I got you. Okay, right?
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Okay. Right, next then a motion to approve the resolution to employ the firm. Do you have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Babcock,
Questions, do we have a breakdown of what they're gonna be doing and how long we're gonna need to employ them and an idea of cost?
Yes, that the cost per hourly rate is in their engagement letter and docs and.
Yeah, the general scope is in the engagement letter that's in the packet, the hourly rates from the packet. We do not have an estimate of litigation costs yet until we sort of meet with them and go through. And we can have to prepare sort of a proposal, sort of formal proposal of, or idea of what the potential cost would be. That'll occur once we sort of sit down with them and go through all of that. Yeah, until we actually engage them. We've given the general, we give them our they've got the copy of the things, but we haven't actually sat with them to go through all this until they actually hire them. And usually they are good about, I'm sorry, they are good about providing that to us when we get that. Okay.
$240.
You're
Any other
talking about
questions?
9.3 or 9.3?
Pardon me? 9.3. So we have a motion and a second to employ.
am I good to finish?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Petty,
Yes.
Malaco,
No.
Block,
No.
Sima,
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Item 9.4. May I have a motion to suspend the rules and make this a final vote? Resolution 2023 R34, authorizing an agreement with Bear Graham for the professional survey and engineering design services for the construction of a new parking lot at Porter Park. Quoted amount $32,100.
So moved. Second.
Block,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
That was for suspending. Okay, now a motion to approve the expenditure to do the parking lot.
So moved. Second.
Petty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Item 9.5. May I have a motion to suspend the rules and approve resolution 2023 R35, an agreement with Norwest Construction for certain improvements to the village's disc golf course location.
So moved.
Second.
There'll be explanation after.
It sounds like you're moving in. Oh, that's suspend the rules. I'm sorry.
Well, you haven't made, get it.
Okay,
Sleep.
Malaco,
Yes.
Sima.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Petty.
This is a long story. So before we vote on it, I would like Scott to give a summary.
Thank you.
In a few minutes. No.
This is for doing new tee boxes, equivalent of a tee box for the disc golf courses. They're a 50 square foot, a 5 foot wide by 10 foot long 4-inch concrete pad with a heavy bar and groom finish. The disc, you run up on that and launch your tee shot. Let me share the screen. These are all poured in somewhat tricky locations, right? We have to, it's not like they can back the concrete truck right up to all of these locations. They'll likely, how do I do this? Have to use a buggy or a hopper that they fill separately and kind of drive that out to these locations, especially as we get to the far west side of the property where we're kind of carving these holes into the tree lines, which I have learned the disc golf enthusiasts, of course, designers really like. They like the obstacles, like the challenges. Even putting an aggregation factor on, I think our estimates were in the neighborhood of $10,000 perhaps to do these. Bids came back high. The low bid is $16,595, and they went up to $22,000. We got 3 quotes back. We did ask. We put an aggressive turnaround on this. The request was that they be completed by July 14th. That would have them done in advance of a scheduled disc golf tournament that will be held at Porter Park on July 29th, 2023. But it's likely to assume that's a complicating factor in driving this price up, because we wanted it done so fast, right? So here's what we say to you tonight is that we took these quotes, we solicited these quotes, we have them, feel obligated to present them, and these quotes do reflect a timetable where they will be installed by July 13th, July 14th, in advance of the tournament. But we are certainly paying a premium. Troy and I spent about 2.5 hours walking this course with the representatives of the Roscoe Disc Golf Group. And they've acknowledged they can host a tournament without it. They can set up temporary pads for this tournament. Certainly long-term, though, they are integral to the expansion of the course. So I'm telling you, I guess an option tonight is we're presenting these numbers with $16,595 being the lowest price, the bids we received, complete the work by July 14th. Or we don't award this and we ask for, we re-solicit quotes with the longer time frame. Say get it done by September 1st, something, just throwing out something that gets it done yet this construction season.
Do we have an idea of the difference in margin now versus later? And is this a revenue generating?
It is not.
Just an event?
Community recreation asset.
Out of town?
Yes.
Oh, it is
yes.
tremendously well used. If you want to say a revenue,
I mean, obviously, more people here, that's revenue. Restaurants, hotel.
Yes, yep, and service.
correct.
Yeah, so. Yeah, to me, I can't see that, here you're in the midst of summer's tomorrow. And if you got it done, does it enhance it versus I can't see the margin of concrete now or later. It's pretty fixed price. I can't see that there'd be a huge difference in cost savings. To me, it's like, I would just get it done, be done with it, but I don't know what the difference is.
Well, that's,
but I don't think
you can't make a decision unless you know unless you have a quote for what it would be done in September.
How many?
Like I said, we're paying for the premium because we want it done.
How many of these are we doing?
11.
16,000 for that?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Everything everyone has said tonight is true, right? We're paying a premium to get this done now,
But we don't know. We don't know how much premium we are paying. Somebody came in. Do we say that? Did they say that time is costing you more when they gave you a bid?
They did not say that. It's an aggressive. That's a quick turnaround to ask someone to do.
Most likely we're bumping in front of somebody else. That's what you're paying for.
Well, I guess I don't know because we didn't ask them, is there a premium because we're asking you to get it done? I think a lot of these people they want the business, so they gave a bid.
We're gonna have sticker shock no matter what. Everything costs a lot more than a lot more. And we're learning in some other projects that it costs more every week.
And I just don't see time being that big a factor, so I'll be surprised if you come back and say, okay, so we're pushing it back to October, maybe. Because now you're at the season, nobody's gonna be playing this game, so.
Well, what kind of savings do we really hope?
I'm saying, I don't think it's gonna be significant, in my opinion.
So what would be significant? What would be enough to justify holding off versus doing it?
I'll bet if you, I mean, I'm just saying that I've done a lot of this kind of work in the past, is that $16,000 to get this done at this time of year, which is the optimum time of year for the goodwill and having people come back here in the future for intangible things you can't measure. Okay, so say this, well, if you do this in September, we're gonna block it to 14,000. I think if you cut it to 8,000, I think it's not pushing it off. Especially wasting our time to come back here to bid on something. If you take $1,000 for each one of us being here, not that we're paid that, and you say, well, this makes no sense for us to waste this much time talking about saving
You
$8,000.
had to say that in front of the newspaper.
Huh?
If the newspaper guy's right there, you had to say that.
Just for reference,
Just saying it. It just.
Are there others who have an opinion on this matter?
I agree, we should just do it. I don't think $3,200, what you said, 20%, I don't think.
20% would save you $3,319. The price would be $13,276 if you realize that amount of savings.
But you're missing the intangible at this time of year. This is summer. Get it done. Make it look like we actually get things done on this. That's.
And it looks good for all these people that are coming into town.
Exactly. And for the people that walked around for 2.5 hours and they said, well, okay, if we have to, we want to live without it. We say.
May I have a motion then? I make a motion
We do it.
to approve the agreement.
We need to move it to first reading first, right?
You did, Tracy, you did it
Yeah, I interrupted that one.
first. Yes, please.
Looking at your map, we're gonna have a crossing across McDonald there, right up in the northwest. Can we get a price for our guys at Public Works to put in a crosswalk
Absolutely.
before this happens?
Yes. Yes.
And we're gonna come as a first reading or whatever, so we can get it done.
It will be below the threshold that you need to vote out.
Okay. Thank you.
Who's second?
I'll second it.
Bellicote,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 10, old business.
Yes, I'd like to bring something up, and it's probably ancient old history business, but it's in Creek Estates. The wedding venue, and I have 3 of our constituents. Can you guys come up and sit up here, please? Just, I know you don't want to, but just come sit down. In case you guys know, it's Nate Kipper, Vince Bowers, and Jason Rotella, who live in Creek. Last Saturday was not a good Saturday for the people in Creek or for Promontory Ridge or the neighbors in the surrounding area. There was a wedding at Creek Estates that was out of hand. I wasn't there. I was away on business, pleasure, but I've gotten calls in the middle, 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock from multiple people. For people that want to sell their house, people that weren't aware of these noise issues when they built their house. We have been dealing with this for 3 years now. Every summer, it's the same thing. The issue is that, as you guys know, it was brought before this board. I think this board had a reasonable response to that in setting ordinances and noise ordinances in place. The petitioner actually moved, as you guys know, to South Beloit. They annexed it, and they're running without any type of impunity. Our residents are calling South Beloit saying, well, we're not enforcing it because it's re-annexing, and it gets turfed over to the county. County is not doing anything. They called them, they're like, I know who you are, I know what's going on, we can't do anything. And they can come out and so one of the reasons I ran is to make sure that this is addressed. And the question is, can we do anything as the village of Roscoe when they're annexed into South Beloit. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know that we need to have the support of all of us here to protect and work in behalf of our constituents who've suffered with this. So that was the bad news. The good news, I believe, is that we talked to Mr. Kalinkas, our attorney, and he is going to, and Carol is going to talk to the village of South Beloit. I don't think any of us here as, residents want to see the state shut down. Maybe, what we want is peace. We want to have, when we call and something's shut down. That's why I was so concerned about what was happening with the, with what's happening in Founders Park. Because once this happens, once it's done, you're living with it. And I agree that, they're not gonna have noise in there, so that's it. But this issue, maybe you can speak to it, Joe, as to what some of the things we can do, make the board aware, and make these things that we can do on our behalf, to come to some type of resolution.
I think the initial steps can be having discussions with the city of South Beloit. Talk to President Hutchison, reach out to South Beloit. That's going to be the initial in the next week here, or 2 weeks, probably not more than that. I think that's the most important part, is making sure they're aware of all of your concerns. Obviously, they don't necessarily hear those concerns as much as you do living there, right? Living right near there. So I think it's the first step is going to be is letting them know what the concerns are, what the issues are, and how the village can help. Obviously, we've got our police department who control those streets there anyway. We got people out there who we can notify, who live there, right in the area, that can be notified, and then pass it on to our police department, who can then observe, see what's going on there, see what's happening out there. I think once we get that communication open up again, I don't think we've had that necessarily between us and the city with these issues, with these concerns. I think once we get that going, where we actually are addressing the city, not just resident thing we're calling, but you're not the residents of the city of South Beloit, so maybe why they're not listed as much. But I think when we have that sort of an equal level of the mayor and the mayor, trustees and trustees.
Is there a county level thing that can be done too?
I think ultimately maybe bring the county into. I think that's sort of the issue. Maybe it's been happening currently. It's the county is not necessarily has the manpower, the resources to send deputies out there to look at that. They've got a few deputies for the whole county. I think, yes, at some point that would be something to look at as well. I think that the more important part or the more useful part is going to have the village and the city get together and see what can be done.
Have the county rep out there as well?
Oh, sure, absolutely, right? Yeah.
Are there any partner agreements with South Beloit and Roscoe on anything? Or joint?
I'm trying to get, we probably do, yeah.
We share a village engineer.
We share a lot, yeah.
We share a
There we
village
go.
engineer.
Engineer.
That's
there is
fair.
Sharing, police department chairs, I think there's this for that.
Yes.
This is going to take a multi-prong, or let's call it a regional, multifaceted approach. Yes, the two municipalities talking as well as impressing upon the South Beloit board that we have to do something here about this. And then secondly, what I've learned is that the county has a noise ordinance that doesn't have much teeth in it. And so also because the county here, that's their jurisdiction, there has to be some charge that can be levied against somebody who's violating an ordinance, but you have to have the ordinance, you have to have some teeth in the ordinance, and that's county. The county board has to be made aware of, and I understand they've been talking about this for a long time, have done nothing about it. So perhaps we can put some pressure also on county board members and county board chairperson to look at this, that you now have these misbehaviors out there in what used to be bucolic settings where you have urban type of behaviors where people buy their little, mini farms or something. So the county has not kept up with how people use their properties. So I can only repeat, yes, it's important to bring the county in on this, to put some pressure on our board members and the county board chair to put some teeth in their ordinance, because that is their jurisdiction. So yes, we can monitor, we can also put pressure, encourage South Beloit to help us solve this problem. Is this their problem too?
Tom Fitzgerald's aware of this. I've spoken to him many times about it. They're very aware of the issue. Say that they're not aware of the issue, it's untrue.
Well,
I've talked to him several times. I know Tom Fitzgerald.
we
Tom will tell you, talk to me. They're very aware of the issue.
will try.
Is he the mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
Talked to him yesterday, 9:30.
Is there, and I don't know if this is, if they have to speak in open comment, is there any, can they ask a question or no?
How about in public
Public
comment?
comment?
So what else do you wish to add under old business? And then I'll turn it over to public comment.
I'll close it up, but I would just like to,
Can we put something in this where Ross was gonna do all the, some kind of stipulation to keep pushing on this? There's gotta be a way. I mean, there's always a way to affect this. Where's the county where it need at?
Downtown.
yeah, Joe, what I don't understand is if they annex it, they have the responsibility for it. Yet, because of pre-annexation, our tax dollars, our revenue, the county's responsible for enforcement. Which is crazy because they got, South Beloit's got the benefit, they set the rules, they do all this stuff, but they don't have any of the responsibilities for it.
Well, the tax dollars aren't going to the city of South Beloit. It's not annexed.
No, but
Yeah. I know what you're
those
saying.
faults are that reason that Roscoe can't, county can't, or Winnebago County can't go out there is they don't have the money or the time to do it. So if there's one saying, hey, first noise ordinance in violation, it's $500 or $1,000, that goes into the kitty for Winnebago County or whoever.
What makes them allowed to operate?
It's cool.
Not being
They're under the annexation agreement they have with the city of South Beloit. Same as they would have.
Since it's not finalized, they're still able to just.
That's what they're operating, yeah. the
So they can do it pre-annex
annexation.
in perpetuity.
Yeah.
They can do it forever.
20 years, but yeah, essentially, right? Yeah.
That's wait 20 years.
Public comment?
I was given a number to call by Tom Fitzgerald, and I called that on Saturday.
Just officially, please, for the record, just state your name.
Name's Vince Bowers, live at 7582 Hidden Creek Lane. I was given a number to call by Tom Fitzgerald. I called the number on Saturday. I got nothing. I was able to do the same thing I could have done by calling a regular number. So there's, through the. Sorry. I was given a number to call and it was supposed to get some type of response from a sergeant or somebody from the South Beloit Police Department. That did not happen. So there's been somewhat of an attempt, but nothing's been followed through. So I've been attempting to take care of this. So to say there's nothing been done and I'm not aware of it is untrue. So there has been stuff going on. It's a pre-annexation agreement. They're able to give them a use permit, but they don't enforce any of the rules. They go off and they say it's part of the county. The county has to support this. So the county says they don't have any noise. So that's it. So they're able to give them the ability to operate a business there. They don't enforce anything. They get tax revenue from it. They don't support it. They do nothing other than take my calls. When I can get a hold of Tom Fitzgerald. Tom has called me back. I've talked to him several times. I talked to him yesterday. I told you. We talked yesterday. So.
What is your hope that we can do?
What's that?
What is your hope that we can do?
I didn't ask you. I just came here to listen to what was going on. So, I didn't
have a request.
I sent that in my email before. No, I'm commenting on what you're talking about. I didn't come in and ask you. I wasn't asking for anything. I'm just commenting on what you're talking about. I'm applying some information you don't have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, Terry, state your full name, record, please.
Terry Brock, 5703 Kelmore Drive. In the future, when you guys talk about PIN numbers and addresses, could you explain to us in the audience where this property exactly is you're talking about? We don't know where it is. And 8.1 and 8.3, could you tell us where this property is, or crossroads or whatever? Could you explain that now? If I can't ask a question.
I'm sorry, but yes, I can. And I just assumed the agenda is there, so 8.1 had the address on there. Right, yes.
In Porter
County.
We can tell them right now.
Right. The purchase that the village is making is the property across the street from Roscoe Glass. Okay, it's about 2.5 acres. Directly across the street from Roscoe Glass.
Right on Main Street.
Okay, the old house there and a lot of empty land. And then the 8.3, where there was a change to commercial general, is the corner where
William.
Main Street Square, where the property's been for sale for a very long.
Across the street from the chiropractor.
The corner of William and Main Street.
And then you're familiar with the Hodges Run.
Yes,
So those were the problems.
okay,
I apologize.
thanks.
I will do that.
Very good.
Any other public comment? Yes.
I'm Pat Henderson. I live on 7741 Rockland Road. You gentlemen talking about the wedding venue. I don't think it was the right place to go, but it all left our hands. When it went to South Floyd, they didn't do anybody here any justice when they did that. And Tom was one of them that did it, because their zoning board said don't do it. The whole board got starstruck and Mrs. Hendricks come in and they all voted yes for it. I hear the music, but it quits when she said she would, and it's never been loud enough to disturb me. But what does bother me some, I'm just talking to her, she lives in my backyard. Somebody out there threatened to shoot her. We live in America, folks. I disagree with a lot of things, but we don't go to that length. You can dislike where they're at, I don't like it, but you don't do that to people. And I wish I had an answer for everybody here of what to do. When South Floyd did that, they just stuck it to every one of us. How do you get it back away from South Floyd? I don't know. So to control it, it is a temporary zoning for 20 years, but 20 years is a long time.
For our lives, yeah.
You know, it left the only police that patrol it is county, and they're too busy to come out for this nonsense. I don't have a good answer for you, but if I did, I'd tell you. But I don't think somebody out there shouldn't threaten her like they did. That's not right. You know, have a little compassion for them, even though we don't agree with what they did. But there are human beings too. My thoughts.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
But I would just make one more thing to that. As you can see that how bad it's getting when somebody takes that kind of action because they're so upset, nothing's getting done. And that's why it's come up in Roscoe. We're taking and trying to, what can we do? There's got to be something we can do, put pressure on people. You know, nobody else is going to do it because just like these other things that we made decisions on tonight. We didn't invent any of those decisions and the decisions we made before. We didn't invent those. We didn't cause them, but now we're stuck in the middle and we're going to be stuck with them going forward. But this is Roscoe community. They're Roscoe voters. They live in a community. We got to figure out what we can do.
Thank you.
And that's why Stacy, I think this has come up. It's like, yeah, we don't have any jurisdiction now. But just like this man said, is they stuck it to us. And that's why I said, okay, what partnerships do we have with South Floyd? If they want to play that game, then that's the way you get people at the table, just like this instance coming up now, because people that weren't doing anything now all of a sudden are doing something. So we've got to raise the visibility of it. And we don't have many cards to play, but we need to figure out what we can play because that person, whoever it was that made that threat, okay, that is incorrect. But they're so frustrated, they get to that extreme. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to end up with something that's a lot more, could be potentially devastating than that. Thank you.
One more thing. The only thing I know of that could help control that. I'm in the township. Start paying attention to Rockton and Southwood. They've annexed so much away from the township. I'd like to see you guys annex it. I grew up in this town, and I'd like to see Roscoe stay Roscoe. The township and you guys were all the same as far as I'm concerned. Keep an eye on these two villages that are doing that to us. That stops them from spot zoning, hurts all of us, which here's a good case of it. Annex it in yourself, you know, take parcels away from the people to, I didn't like it when they jumped and they said, oh, they can go 1.5 miles. Well, I drove it. It was over 1.5 miles. They said, well, it's the way the crow flies. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's further than a mile and a half from where they put sewer in down to Pacific Bearing. So they could have all that land there on the east side of the interstate. But that's something to consider. Watch what they're doing and zone some of these parcels in if you can, that you guys can control that when it's in your village.
But I'd more on content. I appreciate your comments because here's the point. Here, I'm gonna finish. Thank you. very
Please
much.
do quickly.
Yeah,
We have
hot
another- we
days.
have another committee.
So, listen, we appreciate all these comments because Roscoe is in a very good position, but we haven't taken that. And the reason why Mike and I are on this board now, because they weren't listening, because they didn't have a strategic plan. We're gonna have a strategic plan. We're gonna execute against that plan, but we're gonna need you to keep showing up so we can get the support. Thank you. Done.
All right. Item 12, no need for executive session. 13, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Does anyone need a restroom break or anything before
Restroom
committee?
break, cupcake break.
Put your legs out if you can.
See me around.
I have a comment on that. My daughter works at.
Hi.